solutions we get for the road construction environmental issues.
Okay. 3.1C. Any other additions?
And under 3.2, with the Clooney Protection Association, we're talking about that. I wonder if we could have a little chat about the fire bylaw.
Which bylaw? The Clooney one or the county one? Okay, 3.2C. County fire bylaw. Okay, any other additions?
I'd like to add 3.1D, Clooney, the old Clooney Hall, and its unsightly property.
The Memorial Hall, or Community Hall? Or
The old Community Hall.
at Clooney?
Yeah.
Okay. Three 3.1D, on the old Clooney. Any other additions? Motion to accept. Ben, all in favor? Carried. Adoption of the minutes. June 13, 2018, Committee of the Whole meeting minutes. Tom, is there any questions or concerns? All in favor? Carried. August 14th, 2018, regular council meeting minutes.
I'll move.
Any questions or concerns? All in favor? Carried. On the August 14, 2018, public hearing minutes for bylaws 2017-33, 2017-60, 2018-01, 2018-06. Amber,
I'll move those.
any questions or concerns? All in favor? Carried. And with that, we'll go to bylaws, first reading for bylaw 2018-14. Good morning.
Good morning. This is bylaw 2018-14, which is first reading to redesignate 5 acres from agricultural general district to country residential district within lot 1, block 1, plan 1612500. It's adjacent to Range Road 230 and approximately 5.6 kilometers west of the Village of Standard. Our recommendation is that council grant first reading of the bylaw from agricultural general to country residential district, and that a public hearing be scheduled for October 2nd, 2018 at 9 a.m. The purpose is to allow for a future residential acreage subdivision. Given the parcel size and proposed future purpose, redesignation to the appropriate land use is required. The purpose of the subdivision is noted to be for resale purposes. We're recommending option 1 approval, as it largely aligns with the RGMS and MDP. It aligns with the country residential district, the land use bylaw, and the technical matters of the proposed parcel would be addressed at the subdivision stage of the planning process. So let's go down to the maps here while I go through my report. See the location plan here. So you see standard, the proposed redesignation area. This is an area plan. So this is similar to a previous redesignation we had faced where there's definitely significant environmental challenges at play here. However, given that it is an existing development and an existing home, legal opinion is that because the development is existing, it'll be up to MPC whether they want to put an environmental reserve easement on the title when that time comes at the subdivision. However, we're just looking at rezoning, and because the uses are existing, they do fit the country residential district of the bylaw. So I'll just go through the report and how we reviewed this. It generally aligns with the RGMS as the development does not impact existing natural areas well as it already exists. And it doesn't significantly increase density outside of an identified growth node or contradict the other general objectives of the RGMS. Partially aligns with the MDP as it doesn't remove ag land from production, cultivated or grazing, and they are proposing to keep the area to 5 acres in size so it doesn't overly impact adjacent environmentally sensitive areas as much. As the development is existing and the parcel is proposed to continue as residential, staff does not have concerns with potential impacts on the wetlands and the nearby water course. The parcel will be required to align with the servicing policies of the CR district at the development stage to ensure the well and septic field are located within the proposed parcel and meet appropriate setback requirements. In terms of the land use bylaw, all future development will be required to align with the country residential district of the bylaw. We circulated it externally. Alberta Environment we had a phone conversation with them. They just noted that any new development would be required to align with the Water Act. That would apply to any development permits, whether this was rezoned, subdivided or not. It's kind of their standard comment that they need to make sure Water Act approvals are obtained. Alberta Health Services had their standard comments that they always provide. ATCO Gas noted no objections, as well as ATCO Pipelines. Rosebud Gas Co-op and TELUS also noted no objections. Internally, this was circulated. Transportation and Infrastructure Services noted that approach constructed to the remainder, and there'd be road widening and acquisition agreements needed at the time of subdivision. So we'll put those on as conditions of subdivision when the time comes. As I noted, we're recommending option 1 approval. This is the bylaw map that'll accompany the proposed redesignation if council approves the full bylaw. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Motion? Okay, go. Amber?
I'll move that council grant first reading of bylaw 2018-14 to redesignate 5 acres of Lot 1, Block 1, Plan 161, 2500 in the northeast, 1-25-23 west of the 4th, from Agriculture General District to Country Residential District.
Any questions? All in favor? Carried. And first reading for bylaw 2018-17. Okay. Sorry. Second motion for the public hearing.
I'll make the motion of the public hearing for bylaw 2018-14 to be scheduled for October 2nd at 9 a.m. in Wheatland County Council Chambers.
Any questions or concerns? All in favor? Carried. Now, first reading for bylaw 2018-17.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a bylaw to redesignate approximately 29.97 acres from Agricultural General District to Industrial General District of the Northwest 92426 west of the 4th. The location is adjacent to Highway 1 and Range Road 264 within the West Highway 1 area structure plan. It's approximately 3.3 kilometers east of the Rocky View County, Wheatland County border. Staff's recommendation is that council grant first reading of the bylaw to redesignate the approximately 30 acres from Agricultural General District to Industrial General District, and that a public hearing be scheduled for October 2nd at 9 a.m. in the council chambers. Bit of background. So the purpose of this application is to redesignate the parcel to the Industrial General zoning for resale purposes for future industrial development. Although the landowner currently lives on the parcel, they have noted that their intention is to relocate the existing dwelling to another location and sell this parcel to an industrial developer. Given the site's location adjacent to the highway, the landowner has raised existing concerns with staff about security, privacy, and the site's potential as a future industrial development versus residential. Staff's recommending option 1 approval for the following reasons. The proposal aligns with the RGMS and MDP in terms of what is proposed. The application aligns with the intent, purposes, and general policies of the Wheatland West Highway 1 area structure plan. And the concerns over the pre-zoning, which is noted in the ASP, will be addressed through requirements at the subdivision and development permit stage, as well as MGA changes address the concerns that previously existed with pre-zoning. The surrounding context and development also mitigate the potential concerns. Just go down to the maps as I go through my report. You'll see the location plan here, directly adjacent to the Wheatland Industrial Park. It's Cheadle down here. This is the area plan, so it's this long linear parcel here. This is the bylaw map that would accompany the bylaw if approved. Let's go through our review. So we reviewed this against the South Saskatchewan Regional Plan and found general alignment in terms of promoting economic viability for the county. In terms of addressing the environmental aspects of the SSRP, staff's of the opinion that these could be addressed at a future subdivision or development permit stage. You'll notice on the western side of the parcel here, there is some low-lying wetland areas. Prior to any development permits being issued, we'd make sure that the setbacks are applied to there. And after subdivision, we'd make sure those studies are done, so that's incorporated into the overall site plan. We reviewed it against the Regional Growth Management Strategy, and we note it generally aligns with the policies of this document. It focuses economic development near an identified growth nodes, such as the West Highway 1 ASP, and works to provide a good supply of properly located industrial land within the county to meet the needs of the marketplace. Addressing detailed concerns of potential growth on the site can be addressed through the subdivision and development permit stage within the confines of the ASP for this area and other county policies. We then reviewed it through the MDP. And first and foremost, the proposed redesignation aligns with the MDP in terms of providing an additional and varied supply of industrial zone land within an approved and comprehensively planned ASP. The larger parcel size works for certain industries looking for larger parcels that currently aren't offered within the WASP that are zoned industrial. And it also aligns with the commercial and industrial development objectives of the MDP. The following objectives are met. It allows for the expansion and diversification of the county's commercial and industrial base, promotes growth and diversification, directs industrial development to designated areas, and facilitates a good supply. So then we further go out into the report to explain how this does align with the commercial and industrial development objectives. As there is an overarching ASP, if there was to be a multi-lot subdivision down the road, they'd still have to do an area concept plan and do all the detailed technical studies to make sure it was well comprehensively planned well. We reviewed it through the West Highway 1 ASP, and it aligns with the general intent and purpose as it gives and allows for an industrial redesignation within an area plan for industrial developments. The plan anticipates light to medium industrial uses that are characterized by significant open storage and the presence of some nuisance impacts of noise, dust, and glare. So that fits with the district that they are rezoning to. The ASP notes landscaping and screening standards. So with the development permit or subdivision, securities, the development agreement, the plans would all be taken if they were to move forward with an actual development on this site. In order to align with the ASP, future service road connections to Range Road 264 would be required, and development would need to be serviced by on-site water and sewer systems, as there's no current plans for piped water or sewer to this parcel in the immediate future. So the ASP does defer detailed studies on stormwater drainage and wetlands to the subdivision and/or DP stage, where the municipality has more ability to ensure enforcement through conditions or a development agreement. In terms of the land use bylaw, all future development would be required to align with the rules and regulations of the industrial district of the land use bylaw. Landscaping requirements, as noted in the LUB, would be required, as well as any detailed technical studies. The existing dwelling would be on the parcel would be legal non-conforming as per the MGA due to its existence prior to the rezoning. However, it would not be able to be replaced by a new dwelling unless it was to be a security dwelling for the business. So they're looking to move it off the parcel, but it could be reused as a security dwelling for the business, or they may just relocate it off. Alberta Health Services noted they noted comments they'd like more specific information at the development permit or subdivision stage when it becomes available to review, so they can provide more detailed comments at that time. They also wanted to note that they have concerns with interface conflicts between industrial and non-industrial land. Staff considered that given the highway, the road, the agricultural land, we don't have significant concerns with potential interface impacts. It's also an industrial area structure plan, so this area has kind of been slated for this over the last decade or so already. Their other comments are their fairly standard comments that they provided. Alberta Transportation noted that they're not opposed to the proposal. However, they did advise that Highway 1 is designated as a freeway expressway, and they noted access restrictions so that any future subdivision or development must be in line with the existing ASP, and a TIA or area concept plan would likely be required at a later stage. So that would be, of course, a requirement of a development permit or subdivision at a later date. And ACO Gas and ACO Pipelines noted no objections. TELUS noted no objections. Rocky View County noted they'd like to be circulated on any development permits that occur at a later date to discuss stormwater management further, as well as access to the parcel. Development Services internally noted the pre-zoning clause of the ASP, and they wanted to confirm that the existing dwelling would be legal non-conforming. Transportation and Infrastructure noted they need to comply with CSMI as it's within the regional stormwater boundaries, and they'd need to submit a detailed stormwater management plan at the time of subdivision or development permit. And they also noted the pre-zoning clause of the ASP, which staff feels is addressed through the new MGA changes and in terms of what you can require before something's deemed complete, as well as the fact that it is industrial, it's adjacent to existing industrial areas, so it kind of continues on, is contiguous in that aspect. So as I noted, staff's recommending option 1 approval as it aligns with the RGMS and MDP, generally aligns with the West Highway 1 ASP, and the concerns over pre-zoning can be addressed at the subdivision and development permit stage, as well as the MGA changes. So I'll just go up to my recommendation in the RFD, and that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any questions or concerns? Alan?
Just a reiteration, I guess, Colton, how does this fit in with the Calgary Metropolitan Region Board?
Through the chair, as this doesn't require an amendment to the statutory West Highway 1 Industrial Area Structure Plan, this rezoning doesn't need to go to the board. If, for example, this was to have been a commercial highway or a different type of zoning and it didn't align with the West Highway 1 Area Structure Plan, this would have triggered an amendment to the West Highway 1 Area Structure Plan, which would have had to go to the Calgary Metropolitan Region Board for approval. Because this ASP is in place and notes industrial for all of that land, staff's of the opinion that this doesn't have to go to the board.
Thank you. Any other questions? Tom? Oh, your battery's lying beside it.
It's sort of like a Monday. I think it's my German heritage. Just a question on the so what you just said, like the way it is right now, as one lot, it doesn't affect it won't become, it won't be affected by Calgary Metropolitan Regional. But if they decide that they want to zone this to make a bunch of lots on it and make an ASP out of it, then that would have to go before Calgary. That's just. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Whatever it takes. Council's wishes.
I'll move that bylaw 2018-17 be given its first reading.
First reading, any questions? All in favor? Carried.
I'll make the other motion that the public hearing for bylaw 2018-17 be scheduled for October 2nd, 2018 at 9 a.m. in council chambers.
Questions? All in favor? Carried. Unfinished business, scheduling of November meetings, Committee of the Whole, Planning and Priorities session. I think 20th to 23rd is, no, yeah, 20th to 23rd is out. RMA convention, and on the 23rd is Calgary Metropolitan meeting. 6th is council, 13th is MPC. Fifteenth? 16th? 15, 1-5. Is that one meeting, committee of the whole, planning and priorities? Or two meetings? Two meetings. Same day? Fifth and the 12th? No. 14th? 14th and 15th? Not the 15th. Oh, I thought you said the 15th was good. No? 14th and 16th, a Friday? Okay. 14th and 16th, the motion? I feel like an auctioneer.
All right, you said the 14th, we got I'm just looking at the calendar.
13th.
No, on the county web, I'm looking at it right now, it's scheduled for the 14th.
Oh, on the county website.
On the county website. Because of the Remembrance Day? Look at this, what's published to the public, so.
When is MPC?
Supposed to be.
13th? Okay, so we're still looking at the 14th and 16th.
Do we need a motion?
Donna?
I'll move that we have committee of the whole meeting on the 14th and planning and priority session on the 16th of November.
Okay, any questions? All in favor? Carried. Okay. Okay, counselor orientation binder, there was a handout with updates in it. Yes, a motion to accept it as information. All in favor? Carried. And B, Ben, a motion for environment. We need your mic on, Ben.
Okay, mic's on. Motion then to accept one of the alternates of three. There's three options therefore be it resolved. What are the council's wishes?
Which one do you like?
I like three because it combines the therefore and the also therefore. But
Any other comments or? The process is we pass it here, then it goes to our central. Okay, Ben, is that your motion, the third one?
if nobody has any issue with it, I'd then you're only dealing with one, therefore be it resolved and not, and also resolved in it. The two of them are combined, and it does not totally everything that, but it does get it in front of them. So yeah, if nobody has any issue, I would suggest option 3.
Okay. Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Thanks, Alan.
Yeah. Okay, Jason, a community hall in Clooney?
So I've got a few phone calls lately, just from the unsightliness of the property, and there's a pigeon problem. So they were wondering what they could do about the pigeon problem.
What, your theory doesn't work for pigeons? Only dogs?
Easy, Ben. I mean, they were just wondering if there's anything they can do, the county can do about them. If not, they will disappear. But
Whose building is it?
I'm not sure. It's a privately owned building.
Yeah.
So, and somebody out of Calgary, they said. So
It's a privately owned building? Then they need to be sent to, we can't do anything until the owner is notified and made aware of the problem, and then if that, I guess that would be up to health, and it would be, pigeons would be a health issue, not a safety issue.
Maybe we should refer it to staff to investigate it and find out the owner and concerns. That'd be appropriate.
It's totally fine, Mr. Chairman. We're quite familiar with this property. This has
Okay.
been an ongoing concern here. So.
Okay.
Yep. If it's the building, I think it is at one a few years back, didn't that come to us, and they were supposed to board up all the windows and the holes and to keep the, so he's aware of it.
We could move Mr. Squires over there.
Never mind. I won't even say that.
So it's an ongoing issue, so we would think motion to be provided us with information on it.
I'll move that staff come back with an update and information on the old Clooney Hall.
Okay. Any questions?
And a recommendation what to do.
Okay. All in favor? Carried. You want to talk about the county fire bylaw now or after the appointment when Clooney's here? Okay, let's talk about it now.
Been busy here the last little bit. I went to a meeting at Dallam at their request, a board meeting that they asked me to attend to talk about this stuff. And they're not as uninformed as you think they are. They know what's going on out there. And after my meeting with them, they made a few phone calls, and I got some phone calls from them phone calls, and they're not as uneducated as they presume they are. So my question is, because we heard it, and wasn't a public hearing, but to me it was a public hearing because it was a public hearing. Anyways, my suggestion is that because of that, we went through that process, we listened to them from my understanding, and I could be wrong, the bylaw is basically, they want us to revisit some portions of it, but not the total bylaw. So my thoughts were that we would put second reading on the table and get done with second reading. The same thing can happen after second reading as first reading. There can still be some slight adjustments, but the basis of the bylaw is basically there. And it would put forward council's intent to follow through with this. To me, this meeting on the 11th, I have a funny feeling in my gut that we're going to get bushwhacked. And I think we need to have a strong feeling out there that we're looking at this very seriously, and I don't think they are looking at it as serious as they should be. I would put second reading on the table today if council was willing to.
Okay, any comments or thoughts?
I understand a motion is as good as the next motion, but I would not feel very comfortable after saying we will meet with them prior to second reading. I wouldn't feel comfortable as a counselor. I mean, I wouldn't argue, like, if you guys want to put the motion on the floor, that's up to you guys, but I wouldn't feel very comfortable about it, and I don't think it would look very good either.
Okay. Amber?
And I'll adamantly refuse to vote against second reading, or refuse to vote for second reading until after that meeting on the 11th, just because that is how I understand our agreement with them.
Go ahead.
Tom?
I'm just trying to, I'm just trying to find the council, as I see it, and as I have read that bylaw, I am, on the whole, 100% behind that bylaw. We're talking tweaks and that kind of stuff. If council's going there thinking that we're going to rewrite this bylaw, I'm going to have a real problem, because I think the bylaw is basically right the way it is right now. There's some wording in there that could be changed. We're talking minor tweaks, and it doesn't matter to me. We have to go to second reading on this. If we're thinking we're going to revisit that whole bylaw and redo the bylaw, then I am 100% opposed to that.
That was my other comment. That are we assuming that if we're only going there with first reading, that we are going to look at changing going through the entire bylaw? And I'm like Tom, I don't have an issue with the bylaw. There's a few things, the funding there, we may be able to change that, because they seem like they're really up. They really want to maintain, at least up in the Dallam area, they want to maintain the 40/60. I don't know what their reasoning, but I don't have an issue changing that. But the command, what do you call the chain of command? I am absolutely opposed to changing anything along that line, because that's basically what we're supposed to do, how we're supposed to do it under the MGA. And I'm like Tom, there's a few tweaks can be made in there, but they can be made prior to third reading and after second. But if we're going there with the idea that we're going to revisit this whole bylaw and take another year, 6 months, 8 months to go through it, I'm absolutely against it.
Okay, any other comments?
I agree with bylaw 2, other than a few things, but the thing is, though, that it's like we are not involving them. Like, we asked them to be involved, and then we didn't ask them to be involved. I know it's, you guys have gone through all this for years, but we haven't yet, and I think that we need to listen before we move forward, especially if it wasn't on the agenda already.
I understand that, but What I'm telling you is that they are not as ignorant as you think. We have, the council has, and you guys maybe haven't because you're new on. But the staff has, they have worked with these guys for close to 5 years on this. One example, 3 years ago, there was some training went on in Rocky Ford, and I know the person that did the training very, very well. And there was arguments from those two, the Dallam and the Rocky Ford firefighters, to the training, all the way through the training course. They argued everything in the training course, and the trainer told them, they said, well, this is the way it is, this is the way it's got to be, and if you don't like it, you're going to pay me to train you anyways. And if you don't follow through with it, that's your problem. But these are the laws that we have to operate under. And these guys fought every single one. We said, if you want to pass this course, this is what you're going to do. So most of them did pass the course, but they argued every bit of it. So they're not as dumb, and they haven't been, and they have been notified. They know the rules and regulations. They're just choosing not to follow them. That's where I'm coming from.
Mr. Chairman, can I just reiterate, and based on Councillor Wilson's comment, the last motion is only as good as the last motion. There was a motion approved by this council on August 14th that read, and it was carried, approval that Wheatland County Council meet with representatives from the Village of Standard, Village of Rockford, Village of Hazar, and Rural Fire Association Standard, Rockford, Dallam, Rosebud, and Hazar for the purposes of discussing the draft Wheatland County Fire Services Bylaw 2018-07 prior to decision regarding second reading of the bylaw. So although I appreciate both sides of the equation, I think council's already made that suggestion. We've arranged that. So I think you pretty much should honor that. It's been agreed to. So that's all I have.
Just two more comments, and that's exactly what I'm basing my decision on. The second comment, I'm taking issue with you saying that they're not as dumb as we think they are. I would never imply that any of our firefighters or association members are uneducated or uninformed or anything about these issues. I know that they are, and I see where you're coming from. In my mind, we're not rewriting the whole fire bylaw. When you actually speak to these individuals, there's only a couple of areas that they are really taking issue with. We do have to figure out legally where, like, if we don't have room on chain of command, then we have to figure that out. That's obviously one of their main issues. The other main issue was ownership, and there was some, I think, confusion around that. Joanne put it in our current bylaw one way. Vulcan has even changed it since she wrote that bylaw. So I think possibly there is some room for changing something around that. And in terms of chain of command, we do have to figure that out. My main points were, I think that the individuals we're dealing with from the fire associations and the fire departments are extremely intelligent, and I do know that they are informed about this. I don't think we're going to be, I don't think it's going to be like an attack or that kind of thing. I think it comes down to process, and I think by even considering doing second reading today, it would be another slap in the face in terms of what we've agreed to in process. So.
Any other comments? Scott?
I understand both sides actually quite well, but what was presented here that day with the group was basically take the bylaw off the table. They had there was no recommendation to do anything else, and I understand the fear, and I feel it myself. That was the only option that was basically, because I know Glenn tried numerous times to say what specifically would you like to deal with, because that was our intention of that meeting, and it got skewed a different way because of how it was set up prior to us, how they presented it to the public, I guess, and there wasn't much of a chance for us to do things. So I understand both sides, and I do think we should sit down and meet with them, but my opinion of the whole bylaw is much similar to yours. Get it done. There's some tweaks that we need to do, and and I know Glenn, when he was chairing the meeting, asked several times to tweak a few things. There was no intention there to do that from anybody, so.
Any other comments? Okay.
I also attended the Hazar Rural Fire board meeting. And they don't have an issue with the, they're looking at a few little tweaks in there, and they've sent their comments in to the staff. They're willing to work with it. They have no comment, and I got hit up there as to why we weren't following through with it, why we aren't moving forward with this. And I think I've said it before, they've got a motion on the floor from their board sent in here to move forward with the agreement that they're going to work out with staff as to how they operate in their building. So I've got both sides of it out there. And after I met with Dallum, I got a call from an email from Hazar wondering if there was something going on or they needed to be prepared. I said, no, it's just information. We're just meeting for information's sake. As far as I was concerned, nothing's changed. And the meeting on the 11th is information only, as far as I know. And my big concern is, like I said before, is that council's going there with the idea in mind that this is our bylaw and we're going to deal with our bylaw. We're not going to let them tell us that this bylaw is useless and throw it out and start over, because it is what it is, and they've got to get into the 21st century. And I know everything isn't right in there, but things can be changed, but we have to have something.
Amber?
Just a couple of other points. And in response to their question about why we're not just pushing it through, I think Joanne pointed it out to us, and our responsibility when we're making policy decisions is to make bona fide policy decisions. And I'm taking this right from Joanne's presentation that she did to us. And in order to make a bona fide policy decision, council must be exercising its discretion, be acting in good faith with proper intentions. I'm not questioning either of those things. We also have to have specifically turned our mind to the issue, including risks, benefits, available options, and available financial and personnel resources. And I don't think we've done that yet. That's why I don't feel like we can, why I would consider second or third reading at this point. I think we need to analyze those things that Joanne herself presented to us to make a bona fide decision. And I think consulting, not just presenting, I don't see it as us just presenting information to the associations or our municipal partners. I see it as a very, I'm hoping that meeting will be a collaborative meeting where we all are sharing information. And then at the end of that, I see no question that we have to pass a new fire bylaw. And I'm not saying that that's not going to happen, and I don't think we're going to be rewriting the whole thing. But my second point is, there was confusion within this bylaw that was brought up in some of their questions that could have been answered better. For example, I'll draw your attention to section 4.10 on about regional deputy fire chief authority. When questions were specifically asked regarding that section, it was implied in the responses that that section applied to the associations. However, in our August meeting, Joanne suggested, my interpretation of Joanne's interpretation of the bylaw was that that does not apply to association departments, that they would fall under section 5 point, I think it's within 5, there's several sections. And so, well, it goes that the associations fall under section 5, and there is a note about the regional fire chief in there. But I think there is confusion there, and some of it could have been clarified in those questions that were given to them. We need more time to do this, and I think we're still being responsible and doing our due diligence by taking some time to make sure that this bylaw is done as well as it can be at this time.
Any other comments?
Ditto.
Okay. After last meeting, I sent an email out asking if we were going to hire or ask the fire commissioner to come down. And part of the reasoning was there was allegations made in public the last meeting, and I thought for the integrity of this council that we should get them investigated. So everyone answered in agreement, so I would need a motion to ratify that today. And our CIO phoned the Office of the Fire Commissioner, and he got back to me last week. I don't know if this got sent off to everyone or not. I finally found it, so if I looked like I was playing games, I wasn't. I was looking for an email. And second paragraph, as discussed, one of the roles of the Office of the Fire Commissioner is to provide regulatory, organizational, governance, and compliance advice to the municipality and their fire departments within the context of Alberta and Canada's when applicable legislation, regulations, standards, codes, programs, guidelines, bylaws, contracts, agreements that we might have in place. So I asked Mike last week, and he's been working hard on it, to make a letter up to send to the fire commissioner. The fire commissioner also asked for a letter. And he also asked that if he's going to, I asked him to come and give us advice. I asked him to investigate all the fire departments. And he said if he's going to do that, he'd like to have permission from all the affected parties. I believe Mike's got in contact with all the parties. He's got a letter ready to sign. I haven't signed it yet. And I'll send it around to all the affected parties. They'll sign it, and we'll send it off. That's a long story, what went on last week. So that's ready to go, I believe, if I sign it, get a motion. So the thought is of mine, if the fire commissioner is going to come down and do all this work, I'm thinking the bylaw for me should be on hold and see what the fire commissioner has to say. Give us some advice on governance. He was aware that we have fire associations, and he was aware Vulcan has one fire association left and the turmoil that went on there. It's not as smooth as we think it is, and we're probably the only ones left in the province that have so many. So there are problems associated with it. So I don't know why we didn't ask him sooner, but the ask is in. We'll get a motion. Fire off the letter. As far as the letter on the 11th, or the meeting on the 11th with everyone at Rocky Ford, they had only said at the meeting, if you remember, about the chain of command and the ownership of the equipment. Everything else they were fine with in the bylaws, what they said here at the meeting. So chain of command, I would have a tendency to leave off. We could talk ownership with them at the meeting, but I'm thinking we would wait for the fire commissioner. I don't think at any time I want to cancel that meeting on the 11th. I think that'd be a bad sign. We can go and tell them what we think we're doing here. That part is okay with me. But I would wait. The fire commissioner was, yeah, he would come down and he'll investigate. The investigation part didn't get in the letter. It kind of was an oversight of mine when we were working on it. But when he's down here looking at the fire halls, I'm sure we can steer him in that direction. We'll show him the document that we were provided with in the message. It's unfortunate document in the text message or email that some of you got didn't have a date on it. Like that could have been from 2 years ago, or I don't know when it was. We don't know, so we'll get it investigated. So that was kind of my plan. I've heard from everyone here, and yeah, we're kind of split on it, which is good discussion. There's nothing wrong with that. But that's my proposal, that we wait for the fire commissioner to come down. Alan?
Further to that, Mr. Chairman, the letter was sent out to the different associations and the villages, and we've received one response back already. And that was sent out last Thursday, so that's pretty quick turnaround. Village of Fazard just sent theirs about 5 minutes ago, so signed and ready to go. So we're hoping that you could sign on behalf of Wheatland County as well. And hopefully, within a week, we'll have that up to the fire commissioner's office so that he can start preparing for his duties.
Okay. And one more thought. He said, didn't know how much he would come down. He would certainly come down, but they have an office in Calgary, which is a lot closer. he says, that's what we're here for, to help out. And he says it's a time of uncertainty, to say the most, because of the new regulations coming down, how they affect fire departments and stuff, OH&S in particular. So with that, any more discussion? Tom?
I've just got a quick question, like, this is gonna take some time, because now what do we do going forward, like, for operating budgets, and so we can't be doing anything capital-wise on, because we don't have any funding agreements on that, so what are we just gonna be temporarily funding operational budgets for the, until, because this could easily take a year. Because I'm starting to understand how government works. So just trying to get everybody on side and that kind of stuff. So we should probably be looking forward to figuring out how we're going to do this, because there's no way in good conscience we can be saying we're going to be funding 100% on when we don't even know what the funding agreement is, right? I'm just thinking.
So currently we have agreements in place. Currently we have a bylaw. It would just be same as last year if they come to the meetings. So we don't have, we already have a mechanism in place. This new bylaw was to help us get current, because bylaws, we regularly update them. And this bylaw was more of an update more than a new one, for sure. There's a lot of history there for sure, and I'm thinking the fire commissioner will help us get to the bottom of it and give us a good path to follow. So I'm looking for a motion, or we'll debate that.
I'll move to ratify your proposal there from the emails.
And sending the letter out?
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Okay, I'll sign that later today, and we'll get that sent out.
And just as a comment, I have no problem honoring council's motion of the last meeting. I missed that last part of the meeting when they put the motion on. I have no problem honoring that. I just wanted council to be aware that I have this funny feeling that there's something else going on out there, and it's going to hit us on the 11th. So beware.
I'm sure we'll get it done. Is there anything else you want to talk about, Ben? Okay, cross that motion off there. Reeves report. Something on the server. Not much. August wasn't very busy. I got an email from Rocky View on October 16th. They are having an opening of their new municipal building. They invited the CAO and the Reeve. That's also council meeting day, so I was just going to get Ellen to. Oh, was it canceled that day? Oh, really? I didn't cancel it on my phone yet. So what's on Tuesday then? Nothing. Oh, well, maybe you and I can go to the meeting then. Okay. Anyway, that's for information. Tuesday, the 16th of October. They said just, that's our year anniversary. And also, I think on October 11th, there's a meeting for the CMP. There's going to be an invitation coming out for that at the Concord Ranch House, I believe. Outside of that, is there any questions?
What is the CMP?
Calgary Metropolitan Regional Board. Okay. It's a tongue twister for me. There's some that, just off the top of my head, there is a guest speaker coming in on the 11th at the Concord Ranch House. And there is a governance board meeting beforehand and maybe a board meeting after I'm not 100% sure how it's all going to work out. I did go to a governance meeting last week too, I think. Any other questions? All in favor? Carried. Deputy Reeves report.
Very quiet month in August. We did the parade, and through efforts, we got through it fine. Everybody was exercising, except me. I was driving. Council meeting, of course, on the website, MPC, and then our county tour. I brought one of our local entrepreneurs with me, and he quite enjoyed it and kept everybody busy. And then just for future, on the 11th, I'm going to go to the NAP meeting, their AGM. They're having a Nightingale, so I'll be coming late to the fire. When it's done over there, I'll come over after, so you guys know. I'll move my report as read, if there's any questions.
Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Division 1 Councillor report.
My report, as usual, is on paper and it is in front of you. Yeah, slow month in August. Not much to report on. Parade was good. Enjoyed the... I actually would like to say I think the Ag Society did a very good job at putting our name out there during the rodeo, and I was very impressed with that. So I would just like to throw that out there. And other than that, the summer tour was really good. The county summer tour was really good, I should say. Great spots to visit, and I was a little disappointed in the number of residents we had, but I think it's something to grow. And I know I talked to Molly the next day, and she thought it was a very good tour, and she would love to see us host the provincial one. So there's, yeah. So I will move my report as presented.
Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Division 2.
Just a couple of notes. I did get good feedback. I know it's long, but people say, some people enjoy it. You all don't have to read it because you were there for most of it. I did get really good feedback about the Ag Services Board tour, and there's definitely an interest from the public to have it next year. I did have a couple people say that it might be better like on a Saturday. So, but I know scheduling can be impossible to make it work for everybody. But I loved it. I thought it was amazing. There was a lot of appreciation from Gleason for the community meeting regarding the playground equipment. I think it could have been advertised a little bit better. There was some it got a little bit dicey when they started pulling it out and people didn't know what was happening and that kind of thing. So, but they also understood the timeliness of the safety issues and that kind of thing. So, but they were very appreciative for the community meeting. Just a quick note from the Marigold Library Board meeting I attended because Donna was away. They are requesting letters of support for one of their grant applications. So they didn't have the details quite ready for today, but I'll be bringing it to our next meeting if council would consider that. The seed cleaning plant with their new CEO, it has a lot of just new life, I find. They're working on some new strategies, trying to increase their income streams and that kind of thing. So that's exciting. And then the last thing was I was at a community meeting in Gleason with their, and I'll just get the name of their coalition right. Their Community Wellness Coalition. So there's a physician in Gleason that's just looking at what she can do for kind of a more holistic wellness approach within the community. So that was exciting to be there. With that, I'll move my report be accepted as presented.
Is there any questions or concerns?
I do have a question, but Alan left. So I am curious where the funds are coming from for the playground. I don't think we got that.
I just heard that it was a line item in the budget that we accepted. So I didn't hear the original source. I asked that too at the meeting.
And Dave didn't know.
Dave just said it was a line item that was in the accepted budget. So we can ask Alan when he comes back.
And the budget is yet to be voted on too. Any other questions? All in favor? Carried. Thanks. Counselor 3.
Economic Development meeting for Roger Brooks. If you put in your phones, it's August 21st for the speaker series, the first part. It got changed at 9 o'clock. Actually, registration's at 8:30. So. 21st, it's a Friday. Yeah. It got changed last minute, last week, and with Badlands, I guess he needed to be closest to the Calgary airport to get his flight on time, so it got changed to the Friday, to Strathmore. But we're going ahead, making plans for that. It'd be 9 to 3, sorry, and hopefully getting. I'm going to talk to Origin and see if we can get something going there at 3.
What day was that?
The 21st.
September?
Oh, sorry,
I thought I heard
September
August.
21st. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, September
I even wrote it in
21st.
here wrong, sorry.
I thought I looked it
Yeah,
up on the web.
September 21st. At the Travel Lodge. That got changed too because they couldn't get the Civic Center.
And what time?
So registration's at 8:30.
I have a CM.
Oh. Also, Economic Development has put forward in a request for decision for signage. So I just wanted to know if anybody had any questions on that. So we have 3 signs. Wayfind will be a map of the county in 3 different locations, and then a welcome sign put at the front of Carsland. These are kind of the welcome sign is kind of a test project to see how it works, how it looks. So the amount of money is in the RFD. Now the locations are at 817, and if you go just a little bit east, there's a rest area there. That's where there'll be one of them. Another one's closer to the other side of entering from Highway number 1 into the county. Close to what highway is that? 56. And then the other one is on the other way on number 1 coming into the county at the rest area on number 1 on the north side. Or sorry, the south side, the way scale. Actually, I can't remember which side that's on now. South side, yeah. They're also wanting to, this is the first part of the signs. We're trying to, part of our initiative is to bring our signs, bring in more signs and make them, change them a little bit. Some of them are deteriorating and not as looking as well. So we're trying to get it into so much per year. So can I put that motion on the board? Or is there any questions?
Ellen?
Just one thing in regards to funding, it wasn't included on the request for decision. I would suggest that it would come out of the economic development budget. So that maybe should be added to the request for decision. Budget for this. So it would come out of economic development.
Another question, Ellen. When we put signs up on the highway, do we have to get Alberta Transportation
Yes.
permission, or do they do it, or?
If it's on Highway 1, what likely would happen would be we would ask for permission, and then Volker Steven, their contract company, would likely put it up, but they may subcontract it to our supplier too. They've done that in the past, so it all depends on time of the year and business and all that. So,
Okay.
but yes, we have to make approval. So this would be subject to the approval from Alberta Transportation. They may decline it, but not likely they will. It'll just take some time probably to get it through the process.
Another letter. Okay, so Donna's moved these signs.
I would just like to say, Donna, I like the idea. As I do, we drive east a lot, and I always enjoy driving by the Newell sign, and they have all your spots to stop on their map, and I think it's very beneficial. So just kudos to the Economic Development Board.
Thank you. I'll pass that on.
Any other questions, comments? All in favor? Yeah. Carried. Anything else, Donna?
And no, if I move my report be approved as read.
Okay, any questions for Donna on her report? All in favor? Carried. Division 4, Councillor report.
Just wanted, August was a relatively, I want to, let's start all over again. August was a relatively quiet month, so the highlights were, I really enjoyed the counselors that went into the parade. I thought it was great. Thank you very much, Scott, for having a clean car. Because if we would have had to use Councillor Wilson's truck, it would have been a bad thing, right? So keep it cleaner. Also on August 14th, went to the, myself and Councillor Wilson went to a tour of the Sportsplex. And it's coming along amazing. Evidently, they're in school. I don't believe that.
Nope.
No?
Nope, school was not today, they possibly tomorrow.
Called it.
Yeah, okay. Councillor Wilson called it.
And I know that
Yeah.
because the busing,
Yeah.
issues.
So anyways, but it's coming along amazingly well. Like it's, I mean, like any project, everybody says that any school that you build, no one comes in on time on those things. Oh, well, that's number 101 is the excuse why it's not done when it's supposed to be done. And I think I would like to, I'm not sure, I'm on the Strathmore District Chamber of Commerce Board. And I don't know, I think we should, because it's Strathmore and District, it's a very difficult thing trying to figure out how to incorporate the district, because it's sort of like, it should almost be under the umbrella of economic development, because it sort of falls by the wayside. I mean, there's a tremendous amount of potential that the district can do, but trying to figure it out. So I've spent some time trying to figure out how we do it, like going forward, how we can incorporate it more into the county, because I think it's like there's some fantastic benefits that the chamber can offer, and that I know people aren't like for different farming organizations and all that kind of stuff, and we don't seem to be able to. We've not figured out a way to harness that, and we had it was great because August 28th we had a strategic planning and development deal with the Strathmore Chamber of Commerce, and you think it's horrible with council? Well, you try it with a bunch of volunteers. It is trying to get all this stuff to go forward on a volunteer board is just overwhelming. So I'm trying to figure out, I'm hoping you'll put your thinking caps on how we can help the organization going forward. That's sort of what I've learned is that it is so easy. Like we've got such good staff here in the county that we want something done and we ask it to be done and it gets done, right? But when it's all volunteers, that doesn't happen. Like it just sort of, it's a really good idea and it just dies. And I think it can actually be something. I think the chamber can become something. I just don't know how you do that going forward. So that's my sort of my talk for today. So, anyways, other than that, that's my, I hope you guys will just think about it and, give us some suggestions going forward. So other than that, I will present my report as spoken, so.
Thank you. Any questions?
Tom, just a comment. We do invite the Chamber of Commerce. Wanda and Lawrence, I believe.
Yeah.
But they haven't come to the last quite a few meetings.
I will.
Any other questions? All in favor? Carried. Counselor 7 report.
Excuse me, the report's there in front of everybody. If there's any questions, I'll answer them. If not, I'll move my report as presented. With a request to staff, I'm going up to, leaving tonight for Fort Mac for their convention, and they wanted to know if we had something from the municipality that they could throw in their silent auction. So if they can put a package together and leave it with me before we go tonight, I'd appreciate it. Just these giveaways that the county has, a package, a bag of them, so I can throw it in their silent auction.
Okay. Any questions? All in favor? Carried. CEO report. Yes, I think we need a break.
Roger Brooks, September 21st speaker at the Travel Lodge.
Okay. Any questions?
And Margaret can sign you up if we do this motion. $49. Yeah, you can pre-register. Margaret's going to register us.
It's online through Edinburgh. So if you let me know, I'll sign.
Yeah. Okay.
Do we need to
Yeah.
motion? All in
Yeah.
favor?
Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Okay, now the CA report.
Mr. Chairman, my report is in the package there, so I can answer any questions if there is any.
Is there any questions? Not accept a motion. Tom? Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Request for decision for the strategic update priorities.
So the update is there, Mr. Chairman. I don't have a visual presentation, just a verbal. So as you can see in the report, the service capacity review has been completed. I think I'd indicated to council that we made arrangements for Mr. Gordon, or Dr. Gordon McIntosh to come out in June in coordination with Red Deer County to come out to do a service capacity review update in 2019. That'd be a 2-day session, one with staff and one with staff and council. And so we feel that the service capacity report is completed. So we would like council to consider what would be the next item. So the items that are under next that you'd like moved up as a priority, municipal development plan, agricultural strategy, recreation, parks and facilities plan, utility cost recovery, water system expansion, and snow removal. So I can also advise council that Public Works is working on the snow removal and hopefully bringing a report in for the first meeting in October, which is October 2nd, and hopefully we don't get a repeat of the snowstorm we had on October 2nd, 2017. So we'd just like to have council's direction on which one of the next projects we'd like moved up to the now.
Amber?
Let's do snow if snow's already coming.
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Snow, like snow
Snow?
removal, if you're already working on it, would that make sense to move that up?
Most certainly, we'll put that up, snow removal, the service level review, and I know that Mike has got a number of maps that we sat down and went through a couple weeks ago before I went on holidays, so that's certainly, if council's okay with that, that'd be great. Motion would be fantastic.
We need a motion for, okay, any questions? All in favor? Carried. I think a motion to accept the report.
So move.
Any questions? All in favor? Carried. And good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. The corporate and financial services report is on page 94 of the agenda package. One thing I would like to note, just for council, is that due to the increased interest rate that the Bank of Canada has done, they've raised it, I believe, 4 times over the last year. So what that has resulted in our GICs, our secured investments that the county invests as per our policy, that has resulted in an increased rate for us, which equals an increase in interest revenue for the county. So I've kind of estimated around $300,000 year over year. It almost was up 50%. So last year when we invested, we don't pick the times because a lot of the county funds come in the door right around July 1 when taxes are due. So at that point last year it was 1.75%, and this year, because of the increase in interest rates, it was at 3%. Also in the report, we have included donations to other organizations. So that's CRISP, CURB, the administrative donations that we do, and just other miscellaneous donations through ASB and Fire.
Any questions?
I'll move the financial services and corporate services report as presented.
Any questions? All in favor? Carried. And request for decision, Strathmore Handy Bus.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, on page 104, we have the Strathmore Handy Bus donation and future financial commitment. So over the last, I've listed the history of the last 4 years. So in 2017 and 16, the county has donated $35,000 for this program. The Strathmore Handy Bus is also looking for a donation this year for 2018. It's one that we have budgeted. And they're also looking for a future financial commitment. And in the future financial commitment, we've also put an increase of 2% year over year. And that's to account for any inflation on fuel prices, equipment prices, other items like that.
Any questions?
I'm not sure if you can answer it or for anybody who's on the handy bus. How many people in the county are dependent on the handy bus?
So if we look at the reports, there's a lot coming from Speargrass, Carsland, and out, but most of the time what's happening is some of them will drive into Strathmore and take the bus into Calgary. There's quite a bit of that happening. But not only that, we've had long-term ratepayers that moved to the town closer to the amenities, and they were ratepayers, but now they're living in the town of Strathmore. But they were our ratepayers at one time.
I know I should know this too. Does Strathmore contribute as well to this?
Yes, Strathmore, between grants and, I don't want to, don't quote me, it's between 150 to 175,000.
Any other questions? Ellen?
Just a comment in regards to the handy bus. I know it's been an ongoing discussion around the council table. I think the handy bus was looking 2 years ago, I think, for secure funding down the road. One of the things with the handy bus, certainly the handy bus is used more by residents in Strathmore, but I think the costs are recognized in the county because of the distances. There's a bigger cost for travel, for the vehicle, for fuel, for the operators and that. So even though there's less people in the county using it, it might be a higher cost per kilometer or per resident type thing. So just keep that in mind. So there was a bunch of information put together about a year ago in regards to that, and council didn't move forward on a long-term commitment towards that, but it's something that could be revisited if council so chooses, or we can have the handy bus come in and speak to council if that's what council would like.
Any other comments? Ellen's right, we have talked about handy bus before, and it's working on a donation type on a volunteer board. There are, county puts a rep there, and Strathmore. Asked the villages if they're interested, and we've took it to regional partnership, and it's just people just seem to like it the way it is, or no appetite to change it, to operate it more like a Wademza board, or where everybody contributes a rate, but nothing seems to be moving, so I'm just happy. We've had the discussion, so if you want, this council wants to talk about it again, it's but anyway, we have this request for decision in front of us, and any questions, concerns?
I'll move that council approve the payment of $35,000 in 2018 to the Strathmore Handy Bus as donation to others.
Just the 1 year payment? Yeah, just the 1 year payment. Comments, questions?
So being on the board, I understand where they're coming from. It's hard for them to budget if they don't have a regular donation that's coming in or not. So it's really hard for them to budget from year to year to year, or to budget too much into the future. So that was the request why they wanted it a little bit more in kind of written in stone. It is part of our ratepayers. It is part of the ratepayers that we have here as service to them, which is very well needed. How about if we ask them to come and present? Okay.
Any other questions?
Is that motion still on the floor? I would put a friendly amendment to that motion. Alan knows where I'm coming from. Because we have another area that does exactly the same thing for our residents out in the Dallam Rosebud area into the Drumheller area. So if we're granting money, they usually send in a request. I'm surprised we haven't seen it yet. But I think last year it was 5, somewhere in there. So I would...
Last year included a new vehicle, or?
that was 2 years ago, I think, and there was extra
Yeah.
funding at that time for the new vehicle, but I think normally it's $5,000 is what they.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, so Mr. Chairman, just in light of that, you can either make the motion now. I'm meeting with Daryl, the CAO from Drumheller tomorrow. He's coming to meet with us on the IDP ICF, and we've talked about that in the past. So, or if you want to hold off on that particular one, we can bring it back on the 18th with the exact number.
No,
It's up to you. It's up to you.
I'll wait. If this motion was to go through as a permanent, then it would have been added to that as a permanent suggestion, but if they're going to come to present, that's fine. I'll wait till, just so that you know it'll be coming back.
Okay. So the vote on the motion, the 1 year funding. Any other questions? All in favor? Opposed? All in favor? Opposed? Everybody, you voted in favor? I missed it. Sorry, Jason. It's carried. It's carried unanimously. Okay. Okay, request for decision, unaudited financial statement as of June 30th.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So on page 107 of the agenda package, I have included our unaudited financial statements as of June 30th. So that's up to 6 months of the year. I put various notes so that information is available for council. One other item that we have done up is the very specific checks, funding transfers, and contributions to the WRC. So Alan has that handout that he will provide to council. I've got a copy. Yeah, I know. We are relatively close within the budget, which is good to kind of see. There's no major surprises, kind of everything that we budgeted for and kind of anticipated. Sometimes with the variance as well. So these unaudited financial statements, we kind of delay them as much as we can. So I believe I generated these on August 24th. The reason why we don't generate on July 1 is because the information that's in here is only information that we have received from vendors. So if we receive a service, sometimes the vendor won't provide us the information right away, or the invoice right away, sorry. So until we receive that invoice, it's not included in here. That's typically why the audited financial statements come 3.5 months after December 31.
Okay, thank you.
Just curiosity's sake, I've been playing with this in my mind, but all this money, what happens to the interest of that? Like if it's advanced before, is that accounted for? Because when you're talking interest on $6 million, that adds up pretty quick.
So that is not included in here. It was definitely chatted about prior to issuing.
Okay.
The incremental interest revenue lost.
Mm.
For council's information, when we approved the borrowing of the funding for the project, the agreement with Alberta Transportation was they pay the interest after the project is completed, and we have to borrow and fund it up till then. And I think someplace in between them saying that and the project was finished, they changed their mind, and they're not paying interest. But in the same sense, when they first said it would take years for them to make the contributions, and I think they're just about done now making the contributions. So they speeded up the contributions and get the debt off. That was the point of it. I'm just taking a minute here to digest this. So if I'm reading this right, we've funded our granted 3,172,000. Is that the line we granted?
Just for clarification, you mean the total contributed, like non-refundable to the county? So I believe with that, there was kind of 3 pieces of it. There was our phase 1 contribution, our phase 2 contribution, and then there was another purchase of assets. So to kind of get that number, I think it's 3.25 million was the total amount. So under B, just that tab, I'm gonna say maybe 8 lines down, the 2.227.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah, plus, and that was approved in the 2016 operating budget. And then the 2017 approved operating budget, the 1.036 million. So combined, it's roughly 3.25 million. And also to note that this is a contribution to others. It's nothing that the county retains. It's not an asset that the county physically retains because it's under the WRC.
So, when I asked for this, we had a reserve. Is it in our statements here, the Gleason Water Reserve? That you just provided us, maybe? Don't think.
So that specific reserve was kind of drawn down at the end of 2017. So what had happened was that monies in that reserve was taken away from another reserve. I forget which one specifically. I can certainly provide you that information at a later date. Equipment? Okay. So what happened was after the phase 2 contribution was provided to the WRC, which was the last donation from the county, then that monies was returned to the equipment reserve, and a reserve transfer was made back to that.
So the ask today, the water, it's not an official ask, and I kind of alluded it to at last meeting, and we are still in the throes of our budget meeting. But the WRC owes to the village of Rocky Ford $720,000 plus or minus. And this money, I believe maybe the 150's in there that owes to the county. I believe the wage of the general manager is in there because he was on the construction of it, and some other things that got borrowed to make the books balance. That money has to be paid back to Alberta Transportation very shortly. And there's other, last meeting, MPE, we were going to borrow money, $90,000 to dredge a lagoon. And now another engineer's come up and says maybe we don't have to dredge it. So we were going to borrow money for that. We're still on the fence for that. There has been the landowner where we draw water off of the spring. We have a water license and there's a spring and there's a pipeline going. It floods the roads and stuff, so there's a request for decision for about $40,000 that we fix that up and drain it off into a coulee. As we're speaking, I'm thinking they're looking at Alberta Environment for help on that, if they would approve that sort of a deal too. Otherwise it runs over the road, or we take it down in our pipeline a little bit further and divert it off into the draw where it eventually ends up anyway. So anyway, I'm thinking $1.25 million we have to borrow, or should borrow. That would come to, I'm thinking off the top of my head, about 40 cents a cube for our ratepayers to pay that back over 10 years. Or the other option is Wheatland County can sign a bank note authorizing a loan or a line of credit, I'm not sure, for the $1.25 million, so we can draw on that and pay down these debts. I'm sure the villages will sign on too, but their capacity is limited. I don't even know if they can sign on. Maybe their borrowing capacity is reached. I don't know. So I'm not looking for a confirmation, but we have a Wheatland Regional meeting coming up, and I would like to have some discussion on it, what council feels like you would like to do to pay for the water treatment plant, or borrow on the money, or sign a note at the bank that they're capable of borrowing the money. Either way, our name has to go on something. Finish this project off. I'm open to comments. Amber?
I'm not sure if Brian can give an opinion, but from a fiscal perspective, is there one of the options that makes more sense? Like from our financial standpoint?
Through the chair, I'd probably have to kind of sit down and really think about it and maybe get back to you guys with an opinion on that, if that's all right.
Mm-hmm. One more piece I'm thinking should let you know, when we started on the project, I think there was maybe, how much was in that reserve, Gleason Reserve originally around?
Yeah, somewhere between 5 and 3 million. I couldn't
Yeah,
get the.
roughly that
Yeah,
four-ish plus or minus.
Probably.
That was a reserve grant money that we receive as grants to put a water system in Gleason. And currently, we haven't used that all up yet, but we've used it on other things, sounds like. But it was money that the council at the day decided we would spend on the regional project instead of putting a standalone in Gleason. Okay, now, questions. Donna, do you have a question?
When you're saying 40 cents a cube, would that be just for the users?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm just trying to figure out if we should not be thinking about, I would really like to see a solid set of financials. And, I mean, we're gonna throw another 1.2 million at this, and it's gonna come out. I would just feel better if I knew where we're going with, like what the, because everything I've got here is just sort of hackneyed and everything else, and and I somehow think I would feel better if this 1.4 million was tied in with a complete set of books that I can, a set of financials I can believe in them.
We have a statement. It's a projection to the end of the year. But we don't have nothing else to go by. We don't have any history. This is our first year of operation. We don't have an audited statement because we haven't been operating. All this stuff is yet to come, and the budget is coming. So these are all things that we're working towards, but we just don't have the history to get. And I understand, but this commitment, the 700-some thousand, needs to be paid very soon. The idea was when the project was done, we have to tell Alberta Environment and they would like to be paid. So they've been waiting for the grass seeding and different things like that to happen. But the report's going to have to go in now. And we were hoping to have statements ready, but we just can't do it. We just don't have we don't have a year's history yet to have an audited statement. I don't know what else I could provide you with.
Yeah, no, my problem is, we don't know, because everything is, the way that WRC is set up, that they're supplying water, they're also doing wastewater and all this kind of stuff. And we're tied in with Strathmore, or with the county, we've got employees, we've got an employee that we pay for, and we work back and forth. We cannot get a bottom line. Theoretically, if it was just a water company, it would be straightforward, right? Like, it would be, you've got X amount, you pay X amount for the water to WID, you pay so much for chemical, you pay so much for labor but we don't have any idea. And I understand you guys are like, and I don't know how you work around this, but how much of the water, like how much of that cost for the water is employees, like, do we have an extra 2 or 3 employees? Like, my feeling, because of what my background is, I think we're way overloaded with labor, and labor is, in an operations thing, is what causes the cost of water to be so high. So but I don't know, like I wake up at night trying to figure out how do you separate the actual labor that you need for producing water from the rest of the labor that you have at WRC? And do we need, and I know for a fact, am I gonna sign off on $1.2 million to give to WRC, and they're gonna go out and spend $2,000 a month in the village of Rocky View for offices, which I know they don't need. Rocky Ford, that I know they don't need. So this is where I'm coming from. This is what I'm struggling with is that $24,000 a year or whatever it is substantially impacts the amount of the cost of water going to Gleason. I mean, and so I don't know what the answer is, but I'm just, and I know where you're coming from, Glenn, and it's nothing to do, you know, and I know what has to be done. I don't see it, I'm trying to figure out how do we protect the ratepayers in Wheatland? And how do we get the price of water down in Gleason? Because looking at the numbers right now, we would have been way better off just building a water plant in Gleason, just doing it. That's, at least that way I know exactly what my costs are.
Okay, we, last meeting, we had actually 2 meetings ago, we were provided a sheet, and it had the breakdown of a water treatment plant, labors, and I believe that come to about $3 a cube for just the water. Now, this is just top of my head. I might have a paper in here. Bear with me.
While we're waiting, could I make the motion to approve the unaudited financial statements that we're waiting on as of June 30th?
As long as this
I don't think it.
isn't part of.
Yeah, so I'll move that as information.
Any questions? All in favor? Carried. My homework, I've been spending hours on this.
No doubt.
There you go. Have a seat.
I wasn't prepared to do this today. Okay. Yeah, let's do it after lunch. And I'll try and get it together for you. And we'll leave this go till after lunch too, this report that we got handed out. Okay. Transportation infrastructure, Mike.
Morning, Council.
Good morning.
So you can see the RFD in front of you is for the August 2018 GM report for transportation infrastructure. Couple highlights. We're working on Range Road 270 right now for reconstruction. The contractor will be move along pretty good. Hopefully be done early October. As well, the paving, they got crack sealing completed on Range Road 245 over here by Eagle Lake. So they are scheduled for mid-September to come in and start paving with completion date October 15th. So pushing it pretty late, but they should be able to get it done. So those are the hot button topics right now. So,
Any questions? Ben?
The tender for that Range Road 245, what
Yes.
was the council's, what was our estimate on what that would be?
we had budgeted $2 million for that. So we went, there was 4 bids that came in. The lowest bid, I think, what did I say, there was 2.7, so substantially higher. This end of the year here, we were kind of taking a risk that they would be high. So no big deal. I mean, our crews are fully able to do it, and we've just rescheduled some of our projects next year to make that fit into it.
I know they're removing some of that, the millings on
Yes.
Tom's Road there.
Yep.
Do you know where that's going? Like, I know previously it was mentioned maybe we'd move it somewhere else for dust control or something, but I don't know if that's on the books or.
Correct. So through the chair, we're tearing up the millings that are on 240 right now, the Global Training Road. We're going to stockpile them over the winter at Glenmore, and then majority of them will go on Range Road 254, the one that we're just finalizing right now. That's south of the old Calfrac building, that sort of thing. That's a 2-mile stretch there that we're anticipating on doing some dust control in the future. This will just be kind of a interim measure for that as well. And it'll set up a good base for that, the road for the future dust control as well.
I know the answer, but I have to ask because I was asked.
Okay.
Any updates on 842?
On the highway?
842.
Yeah, as far as,
If there's any change in ownership or if we can do anything about it?
Yeah, the only thing that we know is we've been offered an opportunity to bid on the maintenance contracts for the secondary highways, and we'll be bringing something back probably in October, Mike. That's the only thing. The ownership change, the minister has said, no, that's a no-go.
Okay, thanks. Any other questions?
I just wanted to say thanks to you, Mike, for doing that Metzger one. I got a comment back from the homeowner that they're very happy with that, so I know it was a kind of a pain, but, and everything in the division looks good, so thanks.
And Mike, I want you to pass on to the crew that's taking the grindings off. They've done a really good job. Like it was a minimum of people being held up and all that kind of stuff. So removing grindings, you've got her down to a science. So good job.
Any other comments? I have one on the road 263 going into Rocky Ford. Did we budget not for culverts being replaced this year? Is that still to be done, or?
I believe so,
Yeah.
Getting into the, that turned off. Sorry, we're just getting into the fall culvert season right now, so they're starting to hit a few of these. I'll confirm on that, but I'm pretty sure it's on the schedule.
Okay, thanks.
I do have another question. I got a phone call from Jay Anderson a week ago, and he was just curious if we had a water truck out there.
Sorry, through the chair, I do have that message from him as well, and I'm following up on that.
Okay, do we normally phone people before we go? Was the dugout his or ours, or?
Through the chair, I haven't got the details on the instance
Sounds
out
good.
there.
Any other questions? I have a thank you from Mary Marshman. We have a gravel pit out there on the corner.
Stockpile, correct?
Yeah, stockpile, and she felt kind of bad. Spring runoff this year, she was getting water running into her place, get close to the house. So she took the tractor out and removed some of the gravel and moved it around and approached gravel foreman, I think. And they really did a nice job up there shoring it up, and she's very happy with the work, yeah. So thanks for that. I said I'd pass it on.
I'll pass that on
I've
as
seen
well.
it, yeah, it looks good. Our house is saved, yeah. Any other questions? Motion?
I'll move approval of the General Manager of Transportation and Infrastructure Services August 2018 report.
Okay, all in favor? Carried. Request for decision, bylaw 2018-29. Road closure, I think it's just first readings, all we need. Donna?
I move that Wheatland County Council approve bylaw 2018-29 to amend bylaw 2017-46 based on the information as presented in the RFD.
Okay. Any questions? All in favor? Carried. We do 3 readings on this, or do we have to send it away? Mike?
Sorry, so just through the chair, the bylaw was passed on this previously. It had to go through a public hearing and all 3 readings. This is a textual change to it that just requires a resolution from council.
That's all we need is the resolution.
That's what land titles has stated to us, so that's what we're going with.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Learned something today. Okay, request for decision encroachment agreement, undeveloped road allowance. Any questions? Motion.
I got a question. If this goes through, we've been doing that for some years. Is this all the landowners in the past, or is this just, if I'm reading this right? It's when we built berms up along the edge of the road and fenced them, and then the landowner uses that land for whatever. Is this just talking a couple of landowners? Is this talking everything that happened in the past? Because we've been doing that for building them
Fence berms.
those fence berms along the sides of the roads for quite a few years.
Yeah. Yeah, so through the chair, this is a little bit of an anomaly here. You can see on the 3rd page here is an aerial. You can see there's quite a bit of undeveloped road allowance, some diversion road plans that are included on here as well. You're right, typically we have the fence berms that's going along the right of way. A lot of it is unfarmable, so the landowner does utilize that. This one, rather than fence it off and basically have us having to maintain it, the landowners have agreed to take over the maintenance of these undeveloped road allowances.
So that's
Works
just the
for them,
ones
works
you're
for us.
working on now. It's not the ones that are in the past?
No, this is one we just finished road construction on last year. So we're doing the fencing, re-fencing it with this year. That's why you actually saw one a few months ago for another section just north of this.
Oh, okay.
This is the same situation here. Through the chair, we're not going back and readdressing old road plans. We're just looking at new construction and making sure they're tied up correctly at the time. That's correct, yeah.
Well, I'll move that Wheatland County Council approve the encroachment agreement for the use of the undeveloped road allowance with the owners of each of the Plan 9610 or 9610103 Lot 4 and Plan 9512130 Lot 1, based on the information as presented in the RFD.
Just a quick question to Mike then, and it's just running through my head then. Is this is going to be the practice going forward for all those types of, so what happens when they don't agree to that?
So, like I say, this is really an anomaly where we have two undeveloped road, or an undeveloped road allowance right adjacent to the developed road allowance. Typically, you'll see in other sections of this road, we have fence berms all the way along it. We don't purchase that land. We allow the landowner to continue use of that. We just fence along the property line. Fence is always on property line. So this one, rather than fence off the property line and have a 66-foot wide section of land that is going to go to weeds, basically, we thought it'd be a better idea just to fence along the adjacent road allowance, keep this road allowance out of the fencing, and the landowner can maintain it. and utilize at the same time.
So
It's
if they
a
don't
win-win.
agree, if they don't agree to the agreement, then you fence it on the property line, and then it's our responsibility to look at it.
You bet, correct.
Any other questions? Move request for decision, amendment to the lease of the Gleason Community Hall. Page 123. Member?
I'll move that Wheatland County Council approve an amendment to the lease dated 2009 with the Gleason and District Community Association for the Gleason Community Hall to allow the construction of an enclosed breezeway and a 17 by 26 foot storage building with attached 17 by 10 foot covered concrete patio area, providing all required approvals and permits are obtained based on the information.
Any questions? All in favor? Carried. And request for advance of the 219 gravel payment. Council's wishes. Tom?
I move that Wheatland County deny a request for an advance on a gravel payment and the payment to be made in accordance with the schedule as contained in the purchase and sales agreement and the mortgage agreement, both approved by council June 19th, 2018, based on the information presented in the RFD.
Okay, any questions? All in favor? Carried. Request for decision on placement of community book exchange boxes with advertising.
I did read the RFD, but I wasn't totally clear. And it was late, so I'll admit that. But totally clear on the rationale for denying the request. I saw that there would be some permissions needed. Sorry, I'm just finding it.
Through the chair, the reasoning behind the deny is basically the advertising portion of the request here. The county typically doesn't allow any advertising or signage within their right-of-way that isn't directional or legislative. So sticking with that past procedure, that's why we moved forward with a request to deny it. Like I say, Canada Post has given authorization to be in that area, as long as it's not attached to their mailboxes. But sticking with our past policy, that's why we have, or procedure, that's why we have the direction for denying the request.
Mm-hmm. Any questions? You want to speak?
Yes.
Please state your name.
My name is Jason Kelly. These are my boxes.
Mm-hmm.
What it does is it's not, what it says is donated by Jason Kelly Electrical. That's what it says. I've sent in pictures. I've sent in pictures of the areas. I was given permission before to have bulletin boards there. They were actually 10 feet by 4 feet with a roof on it, 2 posts, everything else. That did pass council before. They're the exact same donated sign, but now it's just the sign with a box underneath, a free library. You take one, leave one.
Any questions?
And they will not be facing the highway either, so they're not advertising for the highway.
When was the original request to council? What year?
I procrastinate. Probably 6 years ago.
I'm just trying to remember. I cannot remember that ever coming to council.
Yeah, it was 6 or 7 years ago. I had the paperwork, but I can't seem to find it.
So we would just be the locations that you've listed here? Our node?
I've got 9. So it would just be, like I said, I would find the one and then tell them that I put it there. Like one, for an example, down here on the highway between here and Strathmore, there's those mailboxes on the side there, right next to those trees. One tucked in there, one like at Cheadle Community Hall, right next to the bulletin board. Nobody uses bulletin boards anymore. I mean, that bulletin board has been empty for a year. I think mine's the only card that's on it. And I would be driving by them since I am in the county and I've been here 30 plus years. I would be driving by them, and you know, if there's something drastically wrong or something, I mean, I'd be cleaning it up. Same as I said before.
Any other questions? Thank you.
I love you'll be all shocked. I love the idea of the little libraries, but it is the advertising that is the concern. I can appreciate that.
Can you remember 6 years ago, Mike?
Through the chair, I believe Robin actually did go through and look at the old council minutes. Couldn't find a record of it. Yeah, I don't recall the request coming forward either.
Okay.
So, my computer is still not working. Don't know why, but I know it's mandatory that they have to go through a certain process to get signs up along main corridors like that. But that doesn't make me feel like it's the right thing to do. I don't agree with that. So just because it's told by the province, I'm not going to choke it down. I think you should be able to put a sign wherever you like. I mean, we have signs on our land advertising. No, I'm not telling the county where they are, but they are on our land and they're advertising without anybody else. I didn't have approval from Alberta Transportation, so I don't have a problem with it.
Just a question, like, and I should know this, but I don't, and it's easier to ask you than for me to look it up, so I'm gonna ask you. Like, who's responsible for, like, if my mailbox drifts in, who's responsible for the snow removal? Who does snow removal around that kind of stuff?
Through the chair, I know that we do the snow removal. I'm not sure if we are actually responsible for the snow removal or if we just do it as part of our daily, our snow clearing efforts. I don't know the for sure answer on that one.
So would this, in your opinion, having another box separate from would that make it more difficult to do snow removal in the area, like around those boxes?
So through the chair, I think an additional box would cause little to no effect on snow drifting. The primary reason for the denial here is the advertising. It's basically my only reason for denial on that, because I think it's kind of a good idea. But yeah, I think that would be sticking with past procedure on the what the county's done.
Ben?
Sounds like a real nice idea, and I've seen them in other areas in hamlets and in towns, in public parks and different places like that where there's people around them all the time. These, all I can think of is all the issues that are going to be around these if someone can't get There'll be boxes of books dropped off underneath them now, but if the guy doesn't close the door and the rain gets in there and destroys the books that are in there, and it's, to me, it's a nice idea, but personally, I would rather see, if you're going to do that, that they be in a populated area, not out out on the road where the snowplow can hit them. I don't know how he's going to mount them, and the advertising's got nothing. I could care less about the advertising. It's just the idea of it somehow doesn't sit right with me.
I was going to say the same thing, Ben. I think this is something that would be for hamlets, villages. I see them in Strathmore, and yeah, where the population is, foot traffic mostly. And I understand the idea beside the mailboxes, you're hoping to get that as well, but I think it more apt in the villages.
Questions? Council's wishes?
I'll move the request be denied. Reasons stated.
Okay. On page 130, the recommendation that Wheatland County Council deny the request to place, is that your motion then? Okay. Any questions or concerns?
I'm sorry, but.
Okay, one more.
Just, I don't know if there's a misunderstanding of the mailboxes. What it is there's 100 mailboxes there. It's not just one mailbox on the side of the highway. So, I mean, the foot traffic there and the traffic there is over 100 people, 200 people a day. So, I mean, it is, and then if there's any problem, I mean, they've got a number right there. They can phone and say, hey, look, clean this up, right? That's one of
Yep,
the
we understand. Thank you. Amber?
I'm still struggling with the advertising part of it, but to address some of the other things, could council consider like a trial period of 6 months or 1 year or something, where if there are issues with it or it's causing problems with snow removal or if it's unsightly? I also do just have a question for Mr. Kelly. I'm not totally clear on how prominent the advertising will be. Like, I see the photo of your sign and I see the photo of the proposed book box, but I wasn't sure where you were planning to put the advertising. That kind of, like, I understand it will be oriented the same direction as the mailboxes, yes. But would the advertising be on the side or the back, or like, what are you envisioning?
All it says is donated by Jason Kelly Electrical with a phone number, and then the box.
So just above the book box is what you're envisioning.
And the lid is made style that you can lift it up, but it closes automatically by itself. Front would be plexiglass, the rest of it will be.
Okay, any other questions?
Just a question on the snow removal. If there's going to be a move it. Like, you got to plow. You've hit stop signs before. I'm sorry, just clip it. Simple as that. It's, yeah. If he sets it in the wrong spot, it's going to be moved. It's got to be smart placement here. Like, it's just, I don't.
Any other comments? I myself, it's the advertising. I can't wait for the next person to come in and want to advertise on the fence. Yeah. Yeah. Any other comments? Been moved. All in favor? Opposed? Is carried. Thank you. Sorry. Agriculture, Community and Protective Services, request for decision, Protective Service report. Morning, Angie.
Good morning, Council. You have before you the report for June and July, so not for August. I don't have anything else to add to this report, but if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Okay, any questions? Motion to accept? All in favor? Carried. Request for decision, fees, municipal reserve appraisals.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, Colton is here this morning. He wrote this RFD, so if you have any questions, he'd be happy to answer them directly for you.
Okay, is there any questions for Colton? No questions? Wishes? Donna?
I move that council direct staff to amend the fee schedule to increase the municipal reserve appraisal fee to $850 to cover the cost of obtaining a professional appraisal report for the MGA.
Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Thanks for coming in, Colton. Request for decision, appointment of subdivision development appeal board clerks. Wishes, hopes?
I just
Motion?
have one question. How many are on the appeal board? From-
7
No, from employees,
employees.
staff.
You're not allowed to have employees on the subdivision development appeal board. This is just the clerk. So in the past, it's either been myself or one of the general managers have been clerks, but this is a bit of a departure from that, and I think it fits in more in line with the new MGA as well. So.
Okay. Council's wishes? Somebody's wishes?
I'll move that council choose option number 1 to appoint the following Wheatland County employees as designated officers for the Subdivision and Development Appeal Board: Diane Bodie, Cindy Ramsey, and Gay Mowat.
Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Request for decision, municipalities and wetlands management course.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, I do have Alyssa Robb here this morning to speak to this RFD if you have any questions. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions?
I'll move that council approve offering Ducks Unlimited Canada's municipalities and wetlands management course to Wheatland County staff and council with approval for up to 7 councillors to attend as per legislative policy 5.1.1 elected officials remuneration policy.
Any questions or concerns? All in favor? Carried. Thanks. Request for decision, 2018 bylaw, 2018-28 Agricultural Services Board bylaw.
I do have a question. Just Russ and I were talking there a while back, and I was just curious, in the bylaw, would we be able to say, or do we have to say that the chair should be meeting with the field ag service fieldman once a month or so, just to go over things that in case we need to call Any certain meetings or anything like that?
Through the chair, you don't have to have that in the bylaw, no.
Thank you.
Doesn't mean you can't ask them either, right? Okay, any other questions?
I'll move that council give first reading of bylaw 2018-28.
Any questions? All in favor? Carried.
I'll move that council give second reading for bylaw 2018-28.
Any questions? All in favor? Carried.
I'll move that council give unanimous approval to proceed to third reading.
Any questions? All in favor? That's unanimous.
I'll move that council give third and final reading for bylaw 2018-28.
Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Better have lunch soon. Thanks, Angie. Correspondence items. Land Stewardship Center. Okay. We can wait for you. A little bit of a break, I guess. I was talking to Wendy the other day. Yeah, I can turn off. They are very close to a letter from the RCMP on the Crime Severity Index. Hmm? I don't have a clue, Ben. Yeah? Well, we all know that. I was totally going to bring you. Yeah. Still scrolling through the RCMP. Well, we got a thank you letter from the Strathmore Stampede Board, Agricultural Society to be more to the point, for the dust control. And we have a letter here from the Neighbors Against Pollution. And some recommendations for council to pursue on the backs of our report from Dr. McCartney. So any discussion on that? Or?
They're, like I said, they're going to have their AGM on the 11th of September, and that's going to be discussed there. I know Alan also sent a letter off to, not the province, but the name eludes me. Anyways, basically responding to what was presented there.
Alberta Environment?
Alberta Environment, that's correct, yes. And there's been nothing back from Alberta Environment yet? Okay.
So did you send them the letter or make comment to the recommendations in the letter?
Sent a letter and it was all CC'd to council with a number of these concerns as well as other questions that we had. The report was provided that Mr. McCartney provided to council following that was provided to James Jorgensen from Alberta Environment as well as GFL through their legal. But we've had no response from either party as yet. So I just followed up with a letter to James Jorgensen.
Is there anything in here, there were some comments made the county could specifically do, or road agreements and whatnot? We moving forward on anything on our own?
Well, we have a road agreement on travel on the road we have for quite some time. Most of the other stuff sits with environment. So we've made their request from environment where they're at with that. So
Do they follow that road agreement to the best of your knowledge?
I'd have to defer to Mike, but to the best of my knowledge, they have.
Yeah.
They were required to enter into one in the past. From what I recall, they had significantly lowered their traffic volumes. As a result, I'll have to confirm if that is still in existence or not.
So from the pressure that's been put on the site, there has been diminished traffic, there has been diminished ongoing, but really what's my concern now is what's going on at the site and what's going off the site. And their lack of response is, what do we do? What are our next steps? Because if they're just going to ignore it, the problem's still there. The issues are clearly, Daryl McCartney was there, he said, you know, these issues of the legacy pile, basically what's there now is turning into a legacy pile as we speak. So we need to know what we can do to move forward. Is it legal? Is it, what's the best? If they're not going to respond to Daryl's letter, and I thought he did a fantastic job, he's the guy that teaches these people how to do this. And if they're not, even Alberta Environment's not going to respond to that, that's not right. I mean, that's not protecting the public. It's still an issue there. Just it doesn't smell as much because they haven't really done anything. Still, all the same problems are still there. They just haven't utilized it as much, in my opinion, without prejudice.
When did you send the letter away? Back when we got the email?
2 weeks ago or something like that. I don't recall the exact date, but council has it. I'd send it to all of council members.
And Alberta Environment was there when we did the tour with Daryl. They were very aware of everything, right? So there's been, and I'm shocked that there's been no response from them, honestly. Pay them to do the job to protect the environment. This is an environmental issue with prejudice.
Just got a question. Is there no, this is the staff, that you guys been here, we have, is there no way to bring more pressure to Alberta Environment? Like, can they just sit on something and, on their own, or?
We've made a request to meet with Environment once again, and we met, was it 3 years ago with Environment in regards to this site as well as other matters with little response to date. So the next step, I guess, we could send a letter to the minister. Let's see where it goes, because GFL was going to respond to it as well, his report, but I haven't seen that yet. So give it a little more time.
I guess it's only been 2 weeks. That's what I was trying to figure. Maybe it's just.
Have we got a meeting scheduled, or have we requested a meeting scheduled for Edmonton when we're up at RMA?
Mr. Chairman, we've requested a meeting with Environment, Alberta Transportation, and the RCMP, and the RCMP have confirmed as of late last week that they will not be in attendance. They're going through another commissioner search for the K division. After 16 months, the fellow that you met with last year is retired, so they'll be looking for a new person. So they're suggesting to us that in the spring they'll put us on the list for sure. So.
That was my next suggestion. If there is no response, I would like to have something prepared for the fall session and with all the documents we have. And I'll get up there and stand at the mic and say, here, why aren't you listening to this? We've done all this work. We've done everything that we needed to do to prove and educate ourselves on it, and there's been zero response. It just shocks me that they're not doing anything about it. They're allowing it to continue to operate, and it's been proven by their peers that it needs work, and nothing has changed. And the public is still just as frustrated that live around there. People still have a hard time selling their houses around it, same, all the issues are still there. It's just that they haven't been utilizing it as much, so.
Any other comments, thoughts? How about we bring it up next meeting and see if anything? Okay. We have this correspondence. Is there any other comments on any of the correspondence? Motion to accept this information. Donna, thank you. All in favor? Carried. Okay, we have a in-camera issue before lunch, and then we'll, after that, we'll probably break for lunch. Motion to go on camera. All in favor? Carried.